keep saying you know. You don't know. That's why I'm doing this video. Hi everyone, you are watching Sound Collective. This video is all about creativity and trying to get the most out of it that you can. As a musician, you're probably at home right now trying to get loads of things done that you didn't have time to do before, but not getting very far because you can't be creative all the time as much as we all want to be. It's just not going to happen. So these are my tips to help you stay creative as you possibly can and to harness it in the right way so that in the moments that you do feel creative, you can get the most out of it. So we're going to begin with the idea of forcing creativity. And can you force creativity? There are two answers to this question. The first one is yes, you can if you just want to sit there and get something done. And also, no, you can't if you want to create something absolutely amazing that you actually like. So here are my top tips. Okay. Tip number one, this is your time to collaborate. Skype exists, Zoom exists, video calling anyone on Snapchat or Facebook exists. FaceTime exists. If you're stuck, join in with other people and use their knowledge to your advantage. This is a time we should all be reaching out to each other and communicating as much as possible. So collaborate. They will have completely different ideas to you. They will come up with things that you would have never thought of before. And you can do it vice versa. You can go, if you help me out, I'll help you out and let's create something amazing. Tip number two, set the mood when you want to be creative. Tidy space, tidy mind. I know for me, if everything around me is clean and tidy, I don't get distracted and I can just focus on what I'm doing and I feel so much better because everything's sorted and I can just put my all into this one thing that I'm concentrating on. However, some people feel more creative in mess. So if you feel more creative in mess, don't tidy, just make sure you're in a messy room. There will be certain spaces as well in your home that you feel more creative than others because that's where you do all of your creative work. If you're lucky enough to have a studio, if you go in there, guess what? You're more likely to be creative than you are if you're lying in your bed because you won't want to because you'll just want to watch Netflix, which is fine, but not if you want to be creative. Tip number three, ask for feedback and advice. Again, FaceTime your friends, ask them what they think. Send it to your friends, ask them what they think, especially if they're in a similar industry to you. They'll have advice and tips on what you can do to make it better, to make what you did sound better, look better, whatever it is that you do. But also show it to people and send it to people that don't know about your subject or your industry or profession because they'll be able to give you a completely different perspective from an outsider's point of view. So somebody that knows nothing about the subject, because a lot of people will probably be watching it that don't, they can give advice on how to make it sound better or look better for people like them. Tip number four, unplug. If you can't think, remove yourself away from the subject. It's like when you're trying to go to sleep and you can't sleep, just sitting there being, be creative, be creative, be creative is not gonna make you be creative. So if you feel like that, just take your mind away. Go for a walk, just play your guitar or play your piano if you play an instrument, or do some drawing, do some reading, take a shower. My best ideas always come in the shower. Don't know why. Thought of this whole thing in the shower. It's just where a lot of things happen because my mind is completely focused on it's not focused on anything because when you shower you don't really need to focus on having a shower, so you can let your mind run wild without also thinking I need to get this done, because when you're in the shower you can't do any of those things. Just make sure though that when you are taking your mind away from things, make sure that it's something relatively creative and relatively restful for your brain. Can I say restful for your brain? Yeah, I think that's fine. Keep your mind active, that's what I'm looking for. Do something that's going to keep your mind active. If you just watch Netflix, you'll never stop watching Netflix. If you're in a bad mood and you're trying to be creative and you think, I'll just watch Netflix for a little bit, you'll watch it all day and then you'll be even grumpier than you were before. I know, because that's what I do a lot of the time. So if you want to watch Netflix, read a book instead. It helps your imagination, it helps your creativity, it gives you inspiration. And if there's a series you really like on Netflix, chances are it's also a book. So you don't need to you don't need me to explain that one. Or, now this is a really good idea, have a catch up with your friend, but pretend you're in a coffee shop. So make yourself a coffee or a cup of tea, maybe get some chocolate or a slice of cake, set it up, have a catch up. It will take your mind away from it. You can talk to them about it as well, saying, I'm trying to do this but it's just not going anywhere, and then they might be able to give you some ideas of what you can do instead. And also, it's just nice to talk to your friends at this point in time. We all need a little extra communication right now. So, you know what, I'm regretting the grips. I'm regretting the grips. But I don't want to re-record anything. Tip number 5, become an expert. If you have loads of knowledge in whatever it is that you're trying to be creative in, then your creativity is going to flow even more because you know much more about the subject and you'll know what to do. So for example, if you're trying to write a song, do some music theory. Just knowing those different chord progressions and scales that you can stick to and harmony and intervals that you can use will improve your songwriting, because you won't have to sit there and think, oh, what chord should I play next? It will just come naturally to you. Tip number 6, fear of failure is everyone's downfall. Try and get rid of it. I don't know how at the moment. But I think I might do a whole another video on this, so I'll do some research into it, find out for you, come back to it, and then we can talk about perfectionism and fearing failure and how to get over that to then reach your maximum potential. Tip number 7, brainstorm. You know, if you're stuck, do a mind map. Use nice colours. You know, it's creative and it's a good way just to get all of your ideas out on the table, everything that's in your head. Try not to think about it too much, just write down whatever comes to you at whatever point. And then you've got loads of ideas you can look at rather than trying to have to think more of them. You can just come back to your ideas when you need them. This also ties in with the next tip, tip number 8. Write your ideas down when you have them. If you're out and about, which most of you won't be. To be fair, you can go out once a day, so go out once a day. Anyway, if you are out on your once a day walk or jog or form of exercise or walking your dog, you'll probably have your phone. You can just jot your ideas down. Whatever you're doing, just jot it down somewhere, preferably in the same place. I would recommend your phone. And then if you're stuck for ideas, you've got a whole list of them right in front of you. So if you are trying to be creative and you're completely stuck, then you've got all of these to go through, and you can try each one at a time or try the one that's most appealing to you first, see if it works and go with it, I guess. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Tip number 9, try it from a different perspective as well. Pretend that you've got a completely different profession. Take yourself completely out of the equation and just let your creativity do its thing. If you focus too much on it being for you or made for you and you're not sure about it, then you're just gonna get angry and grumpy and stop being creative and not want to do it because you feel like you can't do anything. Because I know I've been there before, a lot of people have been there before, my boyfriend's going through it all now. It sucks, it's the hardest thing when all you want to do is write songs and be creative and put yourself out there. But when you haven't found the right material yet, it's impossible to do those things. So just take yourself out of the equation, look at it with a different set of eyes. If you're writing a song, pretend you're writing it for somebody else who's got a very similar genre to you. Just taking yourself out of that equation stops the whole perfectionism thing, it stops the whole fear of failure thing, and you'll probably end up writing better as well because you're not thinking too much about every single detail. Also, a really good idea is pretending that you're writing commercially. So pretend that you're in a big label and you're writing for somebody famous, I don't know, who's in the same genre as you. And also, that's probably a really good way of writing a really good song too, because they're not going to release a song that's awful, although some songs are awful, but it's mostly just to do with your taste. But some people do actually have really bad songs. I forgot what I was saying again. Tip number 10, just get it done. Just sit there and do it. I know it's hard, but you just gotta get over it sometimes. Sometimes it's just a case of getting yourself out of it and just forcing yourself to get on with it. I know it's not nice to hear, it's not what you want to hear right now, but you just need to get on with it. Tip number 11, force it out. Get rid of all the bad stuff. For every 10 songs you write, there's probably 3 good ones. So just force yourself to sit there, get rid of all the bad songs, and then the good ones will come, or you can apply it to whatever it is that you do. Set a timer and finish it, even if it is absolutely thing you've ever done, at least you've finished something, and you will feel so much better and so much more motivated because you've actually achieved something. And if you're not achieving anything and you try every day and it's not going anywhere, you don't want to do it. If you are achieving stuff, even though you don't like it, then you are gonna do it more, and you'll get to the good stuff quicker. It is not a waste of time working on something that you don't like, because you can just take elements from it that you did like. If you wrote a really awful song but there's a really nice lyric or really nice melody in it, just use it and put it into something else. I keep talking about songwriting. I know that a lot of you aren't songwriters. It's just that this is how it makes sense in my head, and you can apply it to whatever it is that you do too. You will feel better for finally finishing something, because you'll feel like you've achieved something. So they are my top tips for being creative and trying to make the most of it during this time. If you have any other ideas, comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you soon.